It's my show today. Welcome to the fourth breakdown of Mylo Xyloto. Look at me. Look at me!
Did something weird happen? Anyway, this is issue 4 of Mylo Xyloto called Up with the Birds. That's not how the song goes. It's more like, up with the birds. These are not birds, by the way. These are Silencians. It's Mylo Xyloto and Flying. Go figure. Where we last left off, Mylo went to the Sparkers' hideout. Pretty dumb thing to do, but Mylo's not... Up to this point, Mylo's not known for doing smart things. This is just who he is. So Mylo went to the Sparkers' hideout, and he was talking to Fly. Fly was trying to convince him to become a spy. You know, some people were suspicious of him, that he might be a spy, trying to spy on the Sparkers because he was dressed as a silencer. Now, I think that if he was gonna be a spy in that way, he shouldn't wear the uniform. But like I said, he's not known for for making smart decisions. Fly's asking him if he'll be a spy for them and get information about Major Minus's plans because he's a silencer and pass it on to the Sparkers. That's kind of where we left off. But the problem is, an immediate problem is that the rest of the silencers are also at the hideout. They found the trap door that leads to the entrance, and so things are going to go bad. But not before we completely change the focus, which is to say that issue 4 starts in a completely different place. So we just hear these disembodied voices talking about test subjects and margin for error, none, and next on chopping blocks. So we're like, what? What? Where are we and what's going on? And then we see a bunch of people who are they're looking pretty worse for wear, if you ask me, sitting in this room, presumably facing a two-way mirror or one-way mirror, which is which. I think they're being watched, and they can't tell that they're being watched. Then we get to see who's speaking. It is the foreman and some other guy. And they're talking about the test subjects and kind of judging them for their quality. So we get to finally see what the test subjects are testing. One of them gets put into this, like, kind of a chamber sort of thing and gets strapped to a chair. Ethics. And then they start initiating Hypnoflow activation sequence. So the Hypnoflow we heard about before in issue 2, I believe, that Major Minus was presenting this concept to the Urdocs, the other Urdocs. And the Hypnoflow is meant to be a sort of wireless hypnofeed so that you still have to wear it, but you're kind of free to go wherever you like. You're not trapped in one spot because of needing to be plugged in. But of course, that's not quite right either, we find out, because this guy's not wearing anything. And he gets shocked by the chair and everything. And then we hear someone mention hypnofeed without helmets. So whereas we were led to believe before that the Hypnoflow still had the wearable technology, Hypnoflow apparently does not. Apparently it is what's the word? Telekinetic? That's not right, is it? Telepathic? Sort of situation here. So the foreman tells the test subject to stand up, and he does it. And she says, take a step forward, and he does it. And then she makes him break his pinky. Fun for the whole family. So tells the lackey guy to go inform Major Minus. And then we cut back to Fly and Mylo, and they're just talking again. You know, because this is the romance angle of the comics, so they have to talk and they have to have chemistry with each other, even though I'm not really sure that there is chemistry between them in the dialogue that they're having. But anyway, we need to see them spending time together is my point. And this time they're headed to a room alone with pillows and they sit down and Fly's like, let me do this thing for you. She says, will you let me in to see your true self? Wow. And as we know, Mylo is currently going through an identity crisis, so of course he's going to say yes. He just says, what do I have to do? He doesn't even hesitate. And Fly starts spinning her sparks around. She just says, look into my eyes. That's it. Breathe. Just breathe. Clear all thoughts from your mind. Lift your hands like this. Breathe. Release your spark. Let it flow into my... What are you... Fly. Fly. This is a family-friendly show. Is it family friendly? If you're watching this with your family, let me know. But obviously there's some innuendo happening here, but okay. Well, now that I think about it, there's an interesting juxtaposition here because we just went from seeing the effects of the Hypnoflow, which is supposed to be like the evil thing, you know, the thing the bad guys are doing, and that makes you break your pinky without even hesitating. But the same thing is kind of happening to Mylo with Fly's words. She's like, look into my eyes, breathe, do this, do that. And he's doing all of it with no hesitation. So what does that say about Fly? What does that say about Mylo? Who knows? But they kind of become galaxies. And of course, they're pink and blue. And then they come back to being space blobs. And then they sort of merge into each other and become a sun. Like Super Solus. But not like Super Solus. But we can talk about that in another video, actually. This sun then becomes a little drawing. Which is, you know what, in the same kind of style as Mylo's spark. And makes sense because this is Mylo drawing it as a little kid. He's in a room all alone. But then we see two figures approach him through the doorway and give him the rocket and say, happy birthday, Mylo. Oh, happy birthday, Mylo. So he grabs the rocket and he sits with it, and now he's in the dark, total darkness, and he cries. And we kind of see a similar moment from the Hurts Like Heaven video where Mylo's looking out the window and seeing his parents being taken away. Then when we jump back to Mylo, it's his adult version, and he's shouting, come back, and he's touching things again. He touches the glass, and it starts to shatter, and the sparks start to come out of his hands once more, and then it makes a slide, and then he slides down it, and then he's just like in a universe of sparks, and who knows where he is. He's still... I mean, we know where he is. He's still in his head. Then, very strange, it leads to, first of all, another really awesome spread. But it leads to this scene of Silencia, presumably, on fire with all of these, like, weird dragon-type beasts looming around. Kind of... You know, it'll make more sense later if you look back at this in retrospect, but it kind of is the snaky movements of these dragon-type beasts is reminiscent, honestly, of the sparks and the way they move around. But everything is on fire, and then there's just a bunch of Urdoks who are seemingly cooking and eating Silencians, and there's a lot of dead bodies. There's a lot of skulls hanging around. It's not a fun sight. Not pleasant. So Mylo's flying through this scene, and he kind of runs almost into some of the dragon beasts, and I think I think he's shooting sparks out of his hands at them and it's like destroying them, but it's a little hard to tell. Then everything goes swirly again and eventually sort of comes back to reality, to the actual moment with Fly. But now they're on the rooftop. So what was Mylo doing? How did they get there? If I was Mylo, I would be very concerned. Like I said, I didn't think about this until I was just reading it now, but there is a very strong parallel between whatever Fly is doing to Mylo and the Hypnoflow. And honestly, it's concerning me because I don't think that there should be any distinction between which one is good and which one is bad. There's not really any reason for there to be a distinction. It's the exact same thing that's happening. Well, not the exact same thing, but pretty close. Anyway, Fly just says, come with me, take my hand. And you guessed it, fly. So they're just flying, but they're flying all through Silencia, which that's gonna cause a problem. We know that. Everything that Mylo does causes a problem because it's a story and it would be boring if everything was perfect. So they're flying around and eventually they hear the silencers catch them. Don't move. Don't move. Keep your hands down. This is the hideout being raided by the silencers. Now, of course, everyone's upset. And by everyone, I mean Fly. Fly is upset with Mylo because she thinks that he betrayed them. Like, by bringing the silencers to the hideout. He's like, no, that wasn't me. I didn't do that. But of course, she's not going to believe him. No one is trusting in Mylo. And to be perfectly honest, I can see why. The raid is happening, and as Fly thinks that Mylo betrayed him, well, so here are some silencers, because Milo's still wearing his silencer outfit. I don't think he owns any other clothes. Rex shows up and sees Mylo and is like, do exactly what I tell you to. Put your helmet on, pretend that you're here with us so you don't get in trouble. So even though Rex said in the previous issue that he wasn't going to be able to protect Mylo if he runs away, he's still trying. So maybe he's not a terrible best friend after all. More silencers show up where Rex and Mylo are and are concerned and are frustrated, telling Rex, you're supposed to be leading this assault and then you just disappeared. And Rex is like, apologies, Commander. I needed to safeguard our informant before he could be harmed by the rebels. So once again, everyone's trying to use Mylo as a spy, or they're trying to frame him as a spy. And Mylo, this is not going to help his identity crisis at all. I think he's starting to understand more of who he is on the inside, but everyone else on the outside is still trying to place him in their own boxes. And Mylo really just needs to be free. When are they gonna let him be himself, huh? When? So Rex is telling the whole story about Mylo being an informant for the silencers, double-crossing the Sparkers, and the guy buys it. The commander believes him, but Mylo is like, I don't want to agree to this, but I guess I have to, because otherwise I'm like Bart Simpson. I'm in deep, deep trouble. Is that a timely reference? So they leave, and then in the kind of main area of the hideout, we see a bunch of the body bags. So bunch of the Sparkers have been caught, and Major Minus is walking through. He says he is most pleased. And of course he wants to know, hey, where's the leader? Huh? Where's Fly? She's the number one priority. Well, they caught Fly. She's right here. She's alive. And Major Minus says, then it is truly over. We have won. I have won, because that's how he sees it. It's his mission, no one else's. No one else gets any of the credit. Let the upgrade commence. And commence it shall in the next issue. But for now, this is the end of issue 4 of Mylo Xyloto. Thank you for joining me. I have a whole series of these comic breakdowns for Mylo Xyloto. I have a video comparing the Mylo Xyloto album to the comics as well. And after this breakdown series, which there'll be two more episodes, after this breakdown series, I'm going to be doing some videos about Music of the Spheres. So if you're excited for any of that, make sure you subscribe so you can get those videos when they come out. And it would also be wonderful of you to like this video and share it and comment below. I want to know. What are your thoughts on this whole thing about the Hypnoflow and then Fly like hypnotizing Mylo? What is that about? What do you think that one is inherently better than the other? Is Fly just as evil as Major Midas? These are big questions. Thank you again for joining me. I do really appreciate it. And I'll see you for the penultimate issue of Mylo Xyloto, issue 5. Peace out.